Hello and welcome back to Football Kentron, the only English language podcast dedicated to Armenian football. I am your host, Adam, and I am joined here by the usual suspects in Chadens and Armen. How are you, gentlemen?
Excited.
Yep, hyped up news.
We
A lot
got
of meat.
a lot of meat. We got a lot of good stuff to cover today. A lot more substance today than just general news. And we're just gonna dive right into it. Yeah, a lot of khorovats. Let's start off in European competition. The Armenian clubs this past week began their European journeys as they always do around this time of year. And we will start in the UEFA Champions League, where Alashkert took on Connor Key's Nomads. It's not Quay, which how I had previously pronounced it in the last episode that we were discussing this. I'm not sure how Quay makes the key pronunciation, but whatever. After getting a 2-2 draw away in Wales, which I came to find out later through our conversation with the 94th Minute on Twitter that this wasn't even Connor Key's normal stadium. It was a really weird pitch. I know Armin had a lot of complaints about this. I'll let him get into it. And Alashkert got out of there with a 2-2 draw, which realistically should have been more. But fortunately, when Alashkert got back home in Yerevan, after extra time, they were victorious with a 1-0 win, and Alashkert are now through to the next round of the UEFA Champions League qualifiers. Before we get into the repercussions of this victory, let's talk about the game a little bit. Armen, what are your thoughts on Alashkert's performances over both legs?
Over both legs. Okay, yeah, that's a different question because during the first leg, it was more of a pitch kind of thing, as you said earlier. But in the second leg, you could tell Alashkert was, I don't know, they were kind of like freezing out. They couldn't control the game the way they should have. They were superior, but they didn't make it like they should have. And it's baffling. It's puzzling. It's weird because Alashkert can do better and should have done better. But I have to say it was a merit for the Welshmen. They were a very tough side, and they knew that they weren't gonna have possession of the ball, so they went strong with that tactic. They fought hard for every single ball, and that's why it took Alashkert so much to make it through. But eventually they got it done, and they have a lot to work on before the next round.
Yeah, and you could tell there was a lot of rust. That month off in between, winning the league and beginning preseason, you could tell that Alexander Grigorian has still not imposed his style on this team at all. They look very, very rusty, and honestly, and we have to be honest here, there was a lot of poor luck. If Alashkert was a little more lucky, I think this scoreline wasn't going to be this close because they hit the post, I want to say, between the two legs 4 times. So
that's the Nomads goalie, the Kaneski goalie was outstanding, really.
Yeah, and we should also point out that in the first match, Alashkert was playing their backup goalkeeper, not David Yurchenko.
Oh, yeah.
And we should also speak about how both of those goals were direct errors from the goalkeeper. The first one was I can't remember the first goal off the top of my head, but the second one was off a corner kick or a free kick. He grabs the ball, and as he's coming down, his elbow hits into an Alashkert player, and he drops the ball, and they just tap it into an empty net. It's really, really, really bad mistake. So I mean,
amateur mistakes. Yeah,
amateur mistakes from an amateur goalkeeper. And realistically, if you take those out, which you could see in the second match, Yurchenko was in goal. Nothing got through him. You're looking at 3-0 win versus 3-2, or even with those post hits, you're looking at a potential 6-0. So this could have been a rout easily, but it wasn't.
Huge difference.
We have now, looking into the next match, Alashkert are going to be playing against Sheriff, the only good team in Moldova. First game is going to be this Tuesday. I think by the time this episode comes out, the first leg would have already be done. We know Sheriff are very good. They stomped their first round opposition like 7-0 or something between both legs. What does Alashkert have to do to get through?
One of the things is what you said with the goalkeeper. They cannot afford to make these kind of mistakes. Because I was saying this off the podcast, if I remember, that how these European games are very crucial, because us small teams have to play from way early. So every single game counts. They cannot afford these kind of mistakes. They have to play more direct and more clinical. And also, the away goal might play a role again. The one with the previous game, because the first one, since they scored 2 away goals, they could have gone through even if it stayed 0-0 in the full time. But they had to play extra time. So these small details will make a big difference.
Yeah, and we now I think shifting maybe away from the gameplay and just directly to how it overall plays into, Alashkert's path in Europe. As we previously discussed, winning in this first game was super crucial because now Alashkert practically have a guaranteed set path to the Conference League if they want. If they were to lose to Sheriff in this next round, which would be the second round of Champions League, Alashkert are going to drop into the Europa League playoff round.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty big, honestly. So and that's just one leg. I mean, that's just one set of matches that if you win, I mean, you're through. So my apologies, not the Europa League playoff round. They go to the Europa League Champions Path third qualifying round.
I hope that makes sense to most people.
Yeah, so because you have to look at it. The Champions League's top, Europa League is second, Conference League is third. And when you start in the Champions League and you lose in the first round, you go down to Conference League. But if you go through like Alashkert did and then you lose, you go to Europa League. So hypothetically, if they were to lose to Sheriff, they go to the third round of Europa League. There's four rounds total.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose in the Europa League, they go to the Conference League playoffs, where they literally just have to win in a playoff, and that's it. And they're into the Conference League. So right now, what's looking best for them is, even if they are to lose, and then they lose in the Europa League, they are guaranteed at this moment a Conference League playoff match. Armin, can you explain to us a little bit about why is that so crucial? Because I feel like I'm having a hard time trying to convey that message to people.
I've been looking over the Europa League Champions Path potential rivals for Alashkert, and honestly, it's not looking any better, really.
No, it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy.
Let's go over some of the teams. Olympiacos, Young Boys, Dinamo Zagreb from Croatia, Malmo, but we will be talking about Malmo in a little bit. Cluj from Romania, of course, Sheriff, that they are going to be facing now, and Lechia Warsaw from Poland. Those are very hard teams, but then again, there's Malmo, there's Red Star from Belgrade, that actually Ararat Armenia played last year, and they did not look at all shabby. So some of the teams are manageable, but I don't know, man.
But it's difficult because
exactly.
there are teams that go to group stages in the Champions League. That
Exactly.
all of them have been to group stages. Olympiacos usually goes to the group stages. what's the other one? Legia Warsaw usually goes to the group
young
stages.
boys. Dinamo Zagreb,
Young
usually.
boys, they're always in Europa League. Young boys, always for
Dinamo
sure.
Zagreb always in Champions League.
Yep.
I think that you also have to look at, because they're in the Champions path of Champions League. There's two paths. There's main path and Champions path. You get the Champions path by obviously being the champion. There is still teams that are coming from the second round of qualifiers up. So there is a possibility that they can get an easier team, someone that's gotten lucky. But realistically, I mean, if we're looking at this, if Alashkert was to not get past Sheriff and they're going to go down to the Europa League, I think we're looking at Conference League playoffs for them, because unless they draw against, I don't know how good Mura is, but unless they play a team like Mura or Flora, I don't see it happening. And of course we know Sheriff is really good, and
as usual, it's gonna depend on the draw. And especially for a team like Alashkert that, in my opinion, is not at all better than Ararat Yerevan. Alashkert depends a lot on draws.
Yeah, and I think it would be safe to say that this is probably going to be the best chance Armenia is going to get until next year, or for the best chance ever maybe to get into European competition. Because like we said, Alashkert can literally lose their next 4 matches and still be in a playoff. So it's, oh man, I don't know.
The same path is gonna be next year and the year after that, and for as long as the Conference League is in play, and so that's gonna remain the same. But the Armenian Premier League is picking up its game big time, and we're gonna go over that as well today. So I don't know if it's gonna be the best shot for Armenian teams this year, but it's still pretty solid.
It is, and well, we can touch on what you were talking about. Armin's referencing the coefficients, which is what's used to dictate
everything, basically.
Everything.
It's everything.
Oh no, and I'm also talking about the transfers. Armenian Premier League is going
getting
at
better players, and so
definitely.
So just quickly discuss coefficients. Here's an explanation. So the performance of clubs at club competition level dictates where the clubs enter into European competition. Right now, Armenia has a coefficient point of 7.250 overall and are 39th place within the total UEFA, which out of like 50 something nations. If Armenia were to get to the 35th place, which means realistically, it's like, honestly, if Alashkert wins 2 more matches, not even ties, like games within the next 4 or 6 legs, we get that. We'll have enough points to get there. But obviously, the tougher the competition, the better coefficient points you get. So if Alashkert are to get like a 1-0 result against Sheriff, our coefficient is going to go up a lot. And if we move up 4 spaces, we get a Conference League second round entrance. So our cup winners, who this year was Ararat Yerevan, would enter into the Conference League in the second round and not have to play the first round matches. So the better your clubs perform in Europe, the essentially more you're rewarded. That's why you see in Champions League, for example, the teams that win La Liga and the teams that win Bundesliga and even their second and third places all go straight into the group stage because they have the highest coefficients.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick
which is something difficult to get. By the way, this is also applied to the national team, just so you know. It's the same. If the national teams also perform well, you still get more coefficient points. Always. It's always about the nation performing well. That's why the national team is indirectly better that they perform there too.
Mm-hmm. So Just to round up, Alashkert versus Sheriff of Moldova. The first leg is going to be played this Tuesday, July 20th. By the time you're listening to this match, by the time you're listening to this podcast, that game should be over. And hopefully Alashkert were able to get a result. And then the second leg is going to be Wednesday, July 28th, and that it will be away in Moldova. So hopefully Alashkert can do it. Quickly, in Champions League, while we're here, we have a couple of players that are currently in qualifiers, or were in qualifiers, I could say. Edgar Babayan with Riga lost 1-2 against Malmo. It was a nil, but they lost 1-0 at home and then drew 1-1 away. So Riga and Babayan are now in the Conference League because they lost in the first round of the Champions League. Elsewhere, Kairat Almaty of Kazakhstan with our boy Kamo Hovanesyan, the Speed Demon, defeated Israeli side Maccabi Haifa 3-1 on aggregate and move on to the second round. So
Pretty good for them.
Pretty good for them, but then now they face Red Star Belgrade.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Who can potentially be... They're beatable, though. They're very beatable because Kairat is a very good team.
But they're an obstacle, definitely. Yeah. No doubt they're an obstacle.
Armen, you have some thoughts on that?
About Kairat, it's going to be pretty tight. It's a nice matchup. And we'll see. I think it's a 50-50. And then there's Edgar Babayan's situation we should talk about. I don't know if you were thinking about discussing it now or later, but I definitely want to go into that.
Go ahead.
Because, well, for starters, going over the matchup between Riga and Malmo, it was very close, and Malmo is a Scandinavian giant as well. So, who would have thought that a newly established Baltic, like from Latvia, side like Riga would be so close to a trademark like it's Malmo, and they almost beat them. So that leaves me pretty confident about what Riga can do in the Conference League next round.
Mm-hmm.
But now we should talk about Edgar Babayan's specific situation, because he is basically at Riga. He's like the first sub. He's not a starter. He does play, but is not a starter. So he has got like an average of 15 to 30 minutes per game. That's not bad. But then again, it's Riga. It's not a competitive league or all that much of a competitive league. So I don't know. He is supposed to leave for Cyprus to play for Paphos FC by the upcoming season. And he, in our opinion, we're seeing that he's been waiting to see how far Riga can make it in the UEFA competitions before he leaves. So it's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do if Riga makes it to Conference League group stages. Because as Charen said during the earlier episodes, his current side Riga and Paphos FC from Cyprus are owned by the same company. So would they let him stay at Riga if they make it to Conference League group stages? And what would he decide to do? And how would that impact on the national team?
Well, Riga have been drawn against North Macedonian side Shkendia, who they will be facing in the Conference League. And Riga are favorites. And like you said, honestly, having any Armenian play in European competition is always going to be a bonus to them. So I think if Riga were to qualify, he likely will stay. And as you said, of course, he's not a starter, and that could always change depending on his performances. But I think it would be very likely that he would stay because if knowing Riga's ownership situation, it's the same owner as Paphos. They would want to have the best possible chance of doing well in European competition. So I could see him staying.
Yeah, but what would it be preferable for as an Armenian national team fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would we rather see him play 30 minutes of Conference League, not even Europa League? It's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
Conference League, 30 minutes every 2 weeks for 6 games,
Mm-hmm.
or would we rather see him fight for starting place in a much more competitive league like the Cypriot League every weekend?
Personally, to me, European competition is European competition. If you look at the teams that are already in the playoffs for the Conference League, it's not they're Tottenham is there already, so they can potentially play up against some big clubs. But I don't know. That's just me personally. In my eyes, I don't see much of a difference between Latvia and Cyprus. Honestly, I mean, we can look at coefficients, whatever, but realistically, if you're outside of the top 20, which both of these leagues definitely are outside of the top 20 leagues in Europe, the differences are honestly minimal. And you could talk about, okay, yeah, we have like Omonia Nicosia, who is historically, obviously not right now, a very good team that, you would see them in the Champions League. They were
They're actually in the Champions League and they won the league.
Yeah,
there you go.
You got Apoel, you got Omonia, you got
I think Apoel was the
Apollon.
one I was trying to think of, the ones that are not as good anymore. So I'm just saying a lot of these teams are. I'm just saying a lot of these teams are dominated by one team. A lot of these leagues are dominated by one team. Riga happens to be the one in Latvia. It's a big fish, small pond situation.
But that is not the case in Cyprus. That's my point. That's exactly the thing. That's why I wouldn't see it like a bad move for him to go to Cyprus, even if they do qualify for Conference League with Riga, and especially considering he will play 30 minutes in only 6 games tops.
Yeah. But we're assuming he's guaranteed a starter position at Paphos. Which
actually his contract is, I think he's bound to join anyway. I don't know what the contract, of course.
July 1st was what it was.
Yeah,
it
doesn't make sense.
He was supposed to be in Cyprus already.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know.
Like you said, it's easy. It's same ownership, so it's easy for them to just bounce it back and forth.
Probably that's the case.
Anyway, we still have a lot to cover, so let's move on to the UEFA Europa Conference League, the new competition on the block. We will start with Ararat Yerevan, who took on Fehérvár of Hungary. Fehérvár, we came later to find out, I don't know why we didn't look into this before, was the second highest coefficient team in the entire Conference League qualifiers. Mm-hmm. So, and Coops, who Noah played, was the highest rated coefficient team.
Look at that.
Yeah, so Armenia got the toughest draws. Realistically.
So Maribor wasn't.
Oh no, Maribor was, sorry. And Coops was like in the top 5. So
okay, so we had basically all the difficult ones.
All of the difficult ones, yeah. So let's start with Ararat Yerevan, who I just saw Armin corrected something. Ararat Yerevan had a fantastic 2-0 win in the second leg to comfortably defeat Fehérvár 3-1 on aggregate. Guys, we really like Vardan Bichakcan. We like the whole Bichakcan family. This team, I think, is possibly right now the best team in Armenia.
Hands down.
Because of the way the style of counter-attacking football that Bichakcan has this Ararat team playing, they can beat anyone on any day, and that's just a fact. I mean, their last season was a little bit unfortunate, and I think with some of the transfer moves that Ararat made in the offseason, they're getting strong. Everything. Yeah,
they got Coach Vartan, and then over half of the Coach Vartan's Shirak Gyumri side. So that explains it.
Yeah, and now he has the personnel. He is still, of course, trying to work it with the players that he had from last season, the new players he's bringing in this summer, and trying to find that balance. And I think he's finding it. Ararat will be playing against Slask Wrocław of Poland. This is what happens when you get to the Europa League and Conference League, man. It's all the weird name teams come
UEFA
out.
actually has sometimes they do an article on how to pronounce them.
Yeah, they should.
They actually do this.
Ours aren't difficult either. Alashkert, I'm sure people mispronounce that one all the time.
Yeah, but at least we got the proper ways to pronounce each letter.
Yeah, exactly, which makes it easier, not like
the
Schlask
Poles,
Vlorklaw spelled Slask
Yeah,
Wurloklaw.
Poland is a whole different game, man.
Yeah, Poland is a whole different game. Well,
For
speaking of
president.
games, Ararat scored screamers against Fehérvár. I mean, in the first game, we had that crazy strike in the 90th minute, that equalizer after Karim Muradian had this like crazy dribble, shimmy in past a couple players. And there was a nice free kick goal in the second leg. Like, they're scoring some nice goals, man. We're looking at now that they're going to be playing Polish opposition, Slask Wrocław.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call him Schlask just to make it easier for me.
Poles.
The Poles. Armen, how do you see Ararat handling this? How do you see the approach to playing a team like this? Is he going to change? Is Bichakcan going to change up his style? Is he just going to stay true to the counterattack? And do you think Ararat are going to go through?
Yeah. Long story short, man, Ararat is any Bichakcan team, any Bichakcan coach team is so exciting to see, because they got Fehérvár, formerly Videoton, a Central European giant too, and it was total domination. It was insane. It was beautiful to see an Armenian team with Armenian players mostly dominate absolutely a Central European giant. It was insane. And if we're talking about Schlask Club,
Oh, that's how it's pronounced. Masterclass in pronunciation.
Thank you, my man. Yeah, apparently they're not all that better in UEFA coefficient terms than Fehérvár, and why should they? Even if the Polish league is slightly better than the Hungarian one, they're not that much different in terms of level. I don't know precisely how the Poles play, but I am confident that Coach Vartan will assess their current opposition properly. And we got to go over our players a little bit, because they are a very exciting lineup.
Yes, let's actually take a look at Ararat Yerevan's club a little bit and just get an idea of who their current players are. So if we're talking about Armenian players right now, players that we know that we'll recognize right away, Karim Muradian, Armenian National Team player, of course.
He's everything that is right in this world.
I agree. I love him so much. He's a player that looks like he's never going to leave Armenia. It looks like, he's never going to take that leap.
One of those, isn't it?
Yeah, he's one of those. But again, we have Artak Grigorian, who is the same exact thing. And look at how important he is for Armenia.
Karim Muradian, I think I've mentioned this earlier when we discussed national team call-ups. But Karim Muradian actually stopped playing, put a hold to his football professional career for 2 whole years, and now look at him.
Yeah, he's been wonderful. Another player, Edgar Malakian, and Gor Malakian, both the Malakian brothers, who on their good days are great, especially Gor Malakian.
Yeah, and
I
Gor
really
is actually
like him.
One of the reinforcements.
Yes, he is one of the reinforcements. We'll get into the reinforcements. There's a big one there. David Manoyan, former Armenian National Team player, right over there.
Man, he's champagne. He's absolutely
yeah,
elegant.
he's so good. Huray Mukoyan, Armenian National Team central defender. He's the captain of this Ararat Yerevan side. He has many caps for the Armenian National Team. And we love him. Another player I love that I think was completely underrated, Alik Arakelian. They have him in midfield as an option. A player that I've seen pointed out a lot for his performances, Jirayir Margaryan, the fullback. Armenia under 21 player right now? Something like that?
No, he's 23. That's young. That's young, and he got actually last season's APL best fullback. So he's got like his whole career ahead of him. We will focus on him as time goes, but I think that if not this season or the next, he is looking for a pretty promising career in Europe once his contract runs out or whatever.
Yes. So don't be surprised if you see him get a national team call up. We're just going to throw that out there.
Please.
Last but not least, a non-Armenian player, but at this point should just join the national team because he would be cool. Mori Kone, the Ivorian striker, who is literally like insane. Like, there's no reason why this guy should be playing in Armenia.
The two strikers, and then there's the repatriation of Serge Deblay.
Are we talking about Pobulic?
No, Serge Deblay. Like, he played in Armenia. I think it was in Shirak. But then
he did play in Shirak.
He then went like all over Europe to huge leagues, and he had a pretty successful career.
Yeah, so
and now he's back.
Let me tell you who he's played for. He's played for Charlton Athletic. He was there for 3 years. He's played for Angers. He's played for Nantes.
Yeah.
He's played for Franchi. He's played. He had a stint in Armenia with Shirak, where he did really well actually. 15
notable names.
Games.
He was coached by Varda Bichakchian in Shirak. He played with Bahan in that insane team. Got him Muradian as well.
Yeah, I believe that's the same. That's the Shirak team that came and played the LA Galaxy in a friendly here in LA.
Yeah.
I believe he was involved in that. And now we can talk about the reinforcements that they brought in. So 3 transfers so far. Gor Malakian, Robert Darbinian in defense, and the big one in midfield, Eric Vardanyan.
No, Eric is actually went to Punic.
Why is he listed as a thing player? Oh, he did go to Punic.
Yeah, that's just wrong. But I forgot. Was it Darbinian you just said?
Yes, Robert Darbinian.
That's another class fullback to reinforce defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we need. I've been saying it from the start.
Yep. I remember Goran and Darbinian went like on a package sale from Punic to Ararat. Mm-hmm. Man, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
They can definitely make it through.
Darbinian hasn't gotten any play time like at all in the last year. I mean, he had some plays for Urartu, some games here and there, but he's not going to be as fit as we would like him to be. But again, you also have non-Armenian players in this team like Pobulic, the Serb, who has been,
great,
fantastic. You have Igor Stanovic, who's been great. You
Bravo, another fullback.
Juan Bravo, who's been great. I
remember the commentator, the narrator for the game. He was like, bravo. But he did play great, really.
Yes, and so we could look at this Ararat side and we could say they can do bits, and hopefully we see them succeed against Shlask Vloglav. And
it's like,
I know, man, dude. It's Saturday morning. You're putting these like Eastern European names in front of me. It's a little difficult. Anyway, moving on to the next match. Urartu faced Maribor, who is the second highest coefficient in the UEFA Conference League, and were edged out 1-0 both home and away. And both goals were honestly avoidable. Urartu played well, but it felt like the typical Armenian problem, and it's an issue we see in the national team, and it's an issue we see at the club level. It's that final ball, that final pass, that
The
final
execution,
shot,
yeah, the
the
clinical finishing.
execution. It sucks. It's terrible. Urartu literally did everything right. They would get the ball into that final third, and then they would just either make a really dumb decision, would lose the ball because they're not making their decision fast enough, would cross it, and it would be a terrible cross, or would take a shot that would just go into row Z. Terrible decision making, and just I don't know what it is, because you look at this Urartu side, and you look at the coach Arzumanyan, who we had previously mentioned, former Armenian National Team central defender, a guy we loved a lot, when he was a player, and he's doing very, very good as a coach. They're missing what just based off what I've seen, a true number 10. Armenian clubs have been really relying on their wingers to bring in that creativity. That's the case for every Armenian club right now. And they're really missing a real number 10. And I think if Urartu can play with a true number 10, I think they can be a really great team. Challenge, what do you think about Urartu and their shortcomings against Maribor?
Okay, so Maribor is obviously, like we said, a difficult opponent. But like you said, with the final ball and the relying on wingers, the usually the attackers that we look at, that we usually cover, most common thing is that they play abroad, and we need to be focusing more on developing those midfielders who are the scoring type, the most attacking type, something like Vahan. But we're not really going to get into Vahan going to an Armenian club. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. But this is becoming a difficulty. And for Urartu, as a club, which is coined by Armen, I believe, the Ajax of the Kavkasus, I think we need to develop more. We need to be able to develop more players there. Which, by the way, they're getting a new stadium, as we've heard.
Yep.
Which I think is weird, because they're like the only team that has their own stadium that they don't share. So I mean, I think give a stadium to any other team. But like we said, it was good. It was promising. I think it showed a lot that they kept Maribor to a 1-0 in both matches. Urartu's defensive work was very good. They were able to hold possession a lot. The first match, I believe it was a direct mistake in the back that it was an easy tap-in goal, and the second one Maribor had to work a little bit for. But again, I think you give Arzumanyan time, you give him a good number 10, and I think we're going to see a lot coming from this Urartu side very soon. Next up, we have Noah versus Coops. Noah had a very, very good performance at home, and they came up 1-0 from a spectacular own goal after a Petros Avatisyan cross, and then they went away to Coops, where what happened, Armen?
They got thrashed.
They got demolished.
Murdered. It was
slaughtered.
The definition of an open game. The second game was literally the definition of an open game. Frustrating, really, because Noah, or should I say Noah, bad pun. Okay, they were in the game for the first half an hour until the third goal. Noah could have scored and tied the game when it was 2-0. But then again, they missed very easy chances, and said and done. You miss a game you miss an opportunity, a sitter in such an open game that is basically defined by counters. You're gonna be countered and scored on, and they did. 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, and it could have been even worse. They just went all in and miserably failed.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I pointed out on Reddit after full time. This is a great example on how cheaping out on certain aspects of the game is going to get you stomped on. Noah has all of the funds and all of the resources, just as good as Ararat Armenia, and they're both making the same exact mistakes. They're both making the mistakes by not taking their coach too seriously.
I was going to say the same.
They need to start selecting actual coaches. I don't think an under 18 coach or a fourth division Russian coach is gonna get you anywhere.
I was gonna get into that.
Go ahead. So give us your opinion on it.
Both Noah and FCAA Ararat Armenia are rich, filthy rich, but they're linked to Russian spheres, and we know very well, sadly, how shady and short-sighted the post-Soviet inversion world works. It's basically a lot of funds like pumped in all of a sudden, but miserably implemented and without long-term thinking. That's basically the difference between Noah and Ararat Armenia, and say Urartu and Ararat Yerevan, that are two teams that have basically European Armenian capital. Everything has to do with everything, and the way people are brought up, the way people understand finances, politics, and all that stuff, it's gonna make a difference. And if you don't approach your club with serious projects, you're just gonna fail.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I don't think there's really anything more that we can add to it. It was honestly like disgraceful, realistically.
There's a reason why Urartu has achieved so much. I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but there's a reason.
Go ahead.
There's a reason why Urartu has achieved so much with UEFA and still keeps getting like investments in. Mm-hmm. They are smart. You gotta play it smart.
Yeah, and they're just not doing it. And I think they have the resources to change that. Both Noah and Ararat Armenia, and they need to sooner rather than later. And because if Noah doesn't, they're going to end up just like Ararat Armenia, not in Europe. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, Ararat Armenia spent the most money out of any team, and so did Noah, out of any team. And why is Ararat?
That's disgraceful.
Yeah, why is Ararat Yerevan performing better than you? Why is Alashkert? How did Alashkert perform better than you? Come on, half of Alashkert's team is over 30. It's good coaching, man. Comes down to good coaching. If you don't have a good coach, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Anyway, moving on. Armenian players in the Conference League. MSK Jelena, where our boy Vahan Bichakyan plays, went through with a 6-3 aggregate win over Dilagori, 5-1 and a 1-2 loss. Vahan scored a penalty in each game, so Vahan has 2 goals in the UEFA Conference League.
Out of the 6.
Out of the 6 goals. So that's our boy Vahan. We love him. More goals for him, and they will now be facing against Apollon in the Conference League next round. Elsewhere, some Armenians playing around Europe, Udo and Najarian, who play for Shakhtar in Kazakhstan, will be playing Steaua Bucharest for Romania.
So lucky.
Yeah, in in the Conference League. I don't know how that one's going to work out for them, but whatever.
But it's going to be a good matchup for our boys. That actually, it's funny because they share the defensive midfield at their Kazakhstani team. They're going to play a Romanian powerhouse, and we have Romania as our national team group rivals.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there's got to be a couple of Romanian national team players at Steaua.
Probably.
I was going to say so. About them playing away at the start is going to be an advantage or whatever, but with the new rules, I don't see how that's going to work out.
Yeah, and touching on that, I don't know if we'd mention it, but yeah, there's no more away goals in European competition. UEFA scrapped the rule. People argue that it's a win for bigger clubs, but I mean, realistically, if you scored an even amount of goals between both legs, go to extra time, and just finish it there.
The
I mean,
football
it sucks.
thrill is just gone, basically. The
Yeah,
football thrill is gone. That thrill of scoring one more goal just so that it can give you a boost, it's
Yeah.
kind of gone in a way.
the
Yeah, it's
90th
gonna favor. I don't know if it favors bigger or smaller teams, but it's definitely gonna make out of football a more conservative
And
game.
considering that we are Armenian teams, that we're not like Barcelona and these massive clubs, we don't really have 2-3 squads to play with. So if we have one player relying on a few players, let's suppose that we go to extra time. That player that we rely on is going to get tired, and it's going to get difficult, and in the long run, it's going to affect the player's fitness. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And
so
then there's the play style factor I wanted to get into, because let's focus on the two remaining teams in Europe. We got Alashkert in Champions League and Ararat in Conference League, right? They are, and if, at Football Kentron, we agree that Ararat, as of now, is like generally objectively better than Alashkert, but their play styles are very, very different. Alashkert focuses a lot of counter-attacking football, and Ararat can play counter, but is mostly comfortable with the ball. And we were talking about conservative game. Well, that fits Ararat way better than it does for Alashkert.
yeah.
And then there's play style applied to the opposing side, because Alashkert are going to be playing, as of now, in the upcoming round, Sheriff Tiraspol from Moldavia, that are pretty much better than Alashkert, so they will have to rely on counter-attacking football. And that's, in my opinion, we got the game this week, the first leg, so we will see right away if Alashkert can capitalize on their strong suit, letting Sheriff control the ball, get it out of them with our boy, the Lion, Arda Grigorian, in the middle, and open it up for a counter, deadly counters like David Davidian's.
Yep. So just to summarize here, Alashkert are through to the second round of the UEFA Champions League qualifiers, and they will be facing Sheriff. And Ararat Yerevan have progressed in the UEFA Conference League to the second round, where they will be facing Shlask Vorkla, and Urartu and Noah are out. So that wraps it up for our. No, we did. We had to let them know, just in case they were confused. That wraps up the European competition for Armenian clubs. We are going to move on and speak about some Armenian players around the globe. Charens, what's happening in your neck of the woods in Cyprus?
Han Partsumyan lost the Super Cup, the Cypriot Football Club, but he had a wonderful assist. I watched that goal. It was
over and over.
It was really nice. What I also checked was more important for me is that if he extended his contract, and transfer market shows that he did. There's no official confirmation that I can find from the club or any other source, but transfer market as a big good source, it shows that he's extended it, which is good.
And it makes sense, because his contract was supposed to expire last month, and he's already played an official game, so
exactly. Moving on in France, Armen, we have someone there now, right? Who is he?
Yes.
What's going on? Have we
we love him.
This is so exciting. Second preseason in a row for our boy, future stars of Armenian football. We're going to shout out ourselves because we're doing a wonderful job. Gor Manvelian, Artsakhtsi born, raised in France, striker, tall, fast, smart, talented. He's the whole thing. He's 20 years old alone. He's very young even. And he has had finally a starting debut at a friendly game, but starting nonetheless, for Nantes. You might have known about him for a while if you follow us, because we have been talking about him. Well, finally, he's getting his big break, although not officially yet, but everything points out he is going to be part of Nantes' first team this season, even if as a sub, doesn't matter for us. He's 20
Yeah,
years
does
old
not
alone.
matter.
This is insane, and especially his first starting performance was with a win for Nantes in the Breton derby against Guingamp, 1-0 for
It's
his
pronounced.
side.
It's pronounced Winwamp.
Guingamp. Wah,
No,
wah, wah.
it's pronounced Wamp.
Especially pay me like your French woman.
Yeah, that's not what the meme is, but okay. Gord Monvelian,
I'm
we love
just so
him here.
excited about this.
As soon
It's
as he
just too
starts,
exciting.
he's still young. As soon as he starts getting senior football minutes, we can very much expect to see him in the national team picture. Ottoman and I speculated that Monvelian was the player that was mentioned by
Like
the Football
Ararat.
Federation. Yeah, but specifically Melik Setyan, who said that there was a player that they wanted to call up, but Kaparos felt he wasn't fully ready yet, and we
Good
suspect it was
assessment, by the way.
Yeah, good assessment, but also my argument, as we had this in our group chat the other day, I said I think the longer you have a player like God in your senior national team, he can get comfortable faster, and he can play for Armenia for a longer period of time. But
Yeah,
of course,
then again, timing is essential. And in my opinion, if everything goes as planned, because as I said earlier, it looks as it's finally happening for him.
yeah,
But last season wasn't it? Clearly, he was a part of Nantes' second team, and now he's gonna be with the first team. Most chances are indicating that. We will have to wait and see. Still, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but everything looks good for him to become a sub during this
Yes.
season. So the timing is now.
Speaking of other players who are looking to make the jump from the second to the first team, Edward Spertian is also in full preseason with the Krasnodar first team, and he is now was in their like kit launch promotion thing with Puma.
Beautiful.
So he's one of the faces of the campaign, and it looks like he's not going to be frozen out anymore. I think the Krasnodar realized that it would be very stupid to freeze out a immensely talented number 10 like Spertian, just because he wants to play for Armenia, and now he does play for Armenia. So, haha.
You can't stop it, baby.
You can't stop him. He did it, and he scored. So you would look even more stupid if you freeze a kid like this out. And it looks like it's going to be a very similar situation with like Gore. He will probably be on the bench. But he will get minutes. There's no doubt about that. And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He'll get minutes. He'll get minutes. It's exactly. That's not a doubt. The thing is, for me, what's my concern is that he keeps it going. Like they don't. It's not just about freezing. Like they just let him play.
Yeah.
Like it's not just limiting him.
Let the kids play.
It's one thing. Yeah, it's one thing to make. It's one thing to make it, and it's a whole different thing to keep it.
Exactly. So hopefully Monvelian and Spertian can keep it. Moving on to someone who has made it and has made it repeatedly, and now we could really say he's made it. Varzdat Haroyan has made his friendly debut for La Liga side Cadiz, and he has left a pretty good impression. Armen, tell us a little bit about his performance.
Who doesn't love Vato? It's a rhetorical question because the answer is nobody. Wow, man. Everybody loves Vato. We got to start a show called that. Seriously, solid in defense, even though it wasn't that much of a hard opposition yet. But what Cadiz fans and neutral fans didn't know, but we did, is his ball possession IQ. They were impressed by the way Vato moved with the ball, passed the ball. Like, we know all of this and more about our beloved captain, and now the Spanish strikers will. So Messi and company, look out. He's coming.
Yes, and another player that's coming and who has arrived, Norberto Briasco Balakian, who, much to the dismay of Tito, who is not here. It seems like every time we talk about him, Tito's not in the episode. A little weird, right? A little strange conspiracy theory. Briasco made his full debut for Boca Juniors in a Copa Libertadores match, which is the South American Champions League insane tournament. And he looked really solid overall. He was finding the spaces. They just seemed a little bit off tempo. Briasco has scored a couple of goals in preseason games that they've been playing behind closed doors.
But the opposition was entirely different.
Yeah, and he did sit out, as did a lot of starters actually, in their 1-1 draw yesterday. Because it looks like there's the second leg of the Libertadores match coming up, which he looks set to start for. So, very exciting there.
Besides, their opposition, Mineiro from Brazil, are, long story short, they're the best pre-qualified team to round of the 16. Mm-hmm. So the 0-0, and they even got Boca actually did get a goal ruled out by a foul that didn't exist. Basically, they should have won, but even then, keeping a clean sheet in South America, where away goals still count, by the way, is against the best pre-qualified team, is not a small feat. Now they got away advantage. If they score even one goal and don't lose, they'll be through.
Mm-hmm. So look out for that. That match is going to be coming this week as well. And last but not least, Henrik Mkhitaryan and Sargis Adamian have begun their preseason with their respective clubs, Roma and Hoffenheim. We had previously, talked about the possibility of them moving away, but it looks like both of them are just going to be settling in where they are. Yeah. So, I mean, look, in this list we just spoke about, and this was not even all the players. This was hardly any of the players. We spoke about a player who plays in Serie A, a Bundesliga player, someone who plays for the best club in Argentina, take that, Tito, and in Libertadores, a La Liga center back, Russian Premier League starlet, and Ligue 1 striker. I mean, talk about some talent that Armenia has right now, right? Who would have thought?
And the Cypriot champion.
Cypriot champion Hovhannes Hambarzuman, who is honestly probably the most underrated Armenian footballer.
He's like fine wine, isn't he?
He is. He's gotten much better the older he is. Yep. Let's move on to some transfers. Not nearly as much to talk about as we would have hoped for. Ottoman seems to disagree with me that I think that there's not going to be as many transfers as we had initially anticipated. We had a long list that we had previously mentioned, but some movements are happening of non-national team players here and there. But we do have a very, very big rumor. Charens, Tigran Barseghian, where is he linked to?
Well, there's a separate phrase we say, but I'm not gonna say it. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in a way.
Yeah.
I don't trust this. I really don't trust this source.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just Slovan Bratislava. Okay, I don't even. I didn't even want to say the name. It's just. I don't trust this source.
So for people that don't know, Slovan Bratislava is the current champions of Slovakia. They are the team that edged out our Vahan Bichakchan's Žilina side. So we had seen Tico linked to top 5 leagues. And suddenly he's having a medical for Slovan Bratislava, who, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and say this here. Astana is a much better team than Slovan Bratislava, in my opinion.
It just doesn't make sense, by the way, with
This-
that medical. It just doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah,
you cannot be in one place and do medical another place.
Yeah, he apparently had a medical for Slovan, but then went and played a game the same day for Astana and scored a goal. I don't know. I don't believe this one. I don't know if it's me being stupid and me not wanting to believe it, because I definitely don't want to believe it.
Wishful thinking.
But
I don't
it
know.
has been reported from a fairly reliable source in Armenia. But again, some stuff just aren't adding up here and there. Slovan are in the Champions League. They're going to be playing against Young Boys, which is like probably the worst draw they could have gotten. They're like probably out, honestly. So we're looking at another Conference League team. I mean, I would assume Slovan Bratislava would be able to qualify for the Conference League.
Yeah.
But like, what? Like, I just don't even know what to say, man. Armin, what do you
I
think?
do. I sadly do know what to say. There are good and bad things if he does end up moving, which is not even confirmed yet. So, but if he does do that, he would be pulling a Babayan. Long story short. I mean,
Yeah,
a guy that, a guy that like outdoes himself, shines and performs very well at a solid UEFA league, and is suddenly, but not coincidentally, linked to all these top 5 leagues, like Babayan was back in the previous season. He was going to go from Denmark to either Germany or Serie A, even if lower table clubs. He was going to make that jump, and all of a sudden we find out he's going to Riga in Latvia. Most random choice he could have made. Well, same thing appears to be happening here. I don't know, man. I think it's short-term thinking. I don't know what it is. I don't know. He's pulling a Babayan.
Apparently, Slovan are paying upwards of 2.5 million euros for him.
Yeah,
Surely,
they got the money.
but surely, like 2.5 million is a steal for Barcelona. I mean, I don't know.
And I mean, I understand. Slovan have an insane squad. They have Vladimir Weiss as one of their captains. They got 2 of the Georgian stars that played in the MLS, Serie A, Holland. They got another Dutch Eredivisie player. They got some big names, but still, that's not what we would have hoped or even thought objectively.
Well, they're actually currently managed by Vladimir Weiss, senior, the one who just got fired from the Georgia job, partly due to Armenia.
Oh, so that's how he got the Georgians for his team.
Yeah, There's a few Georgians. They have a very international team. They have a lot of players from a lot of different countries.
And it would be good to have 2 Armenian stars in a good league like Slovakia, but not for our top guns.
Yeah, he could easily be playing elsewhere. I mean, he could easily be playing in a mid-table to lower half Serie A team easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally don't get this move at all. Like, it just this
money.
But surely a team in Italy can pay you just as much. Surely. How much can a club in Slovakia pay you?
Yeah, but then there's who in Italy or Germany would be willing to pay as much as Slovan, because I believe that the teams that wanted him may not be those same ones in Italy or Germany that have actually that money.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. It remains to be seen. Maybe by the time this episode is out, something will be officially announced or hopefully denounced. He hasn't said anything on social media. He just keeps posting his really bad outfits on Instagram, and that's about it.
One thing is certain, though. He's almost gonna leave. He's basically leaving. We just don't know where.
If I'm his wife, and the options were Italy or Slovakia. I would be really upset if he was to pick one against Slovakia.
And did you see the celebration of his latest goal this weekend?
I mean, I saw him hug all of his teammates. So
yeah, and you could tell he was emotional.
Yeah.
So he's probably leaving, but hopefully not to Slovakia, because that medical news was a little shady.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Punic have gone and signed the old and the young simultaneously.
Insane.
Punic signed Gevorg Lazaryan, who was a free agent after bouncing around between Greece and Cyprus, and Eric Vardanyan, who was previously erroneously mentioned earlier in this episode, who left the Premier League in a blaze after flipping the bird to the camera, had a very bad stint at Sochi, who ended
Injuries.
Just injuries galore, was never fit, never played with the second team, and then they said, we don't want you anymore, basically. And he is now a Punic player. So it's going to be interesting to see if he actually plays or if he gets injured again. I mean, hopefully not, but just making the Premier League slightly better. Elsewhere.
It is, yeah. It's like having experience, and
having
the young
class.
Speaking of experience, Alashkert actually, in my opinion, made a coup d'etat of a signing. They signed Arman Papikyan and Levon Bayramyan. Papikyan, as you know, scored that fantastic goal that won Ararat Yerevan the cup, which saw them go to Europe. And I was surprised to see him be let go. But it's a good reinforcement move for Alashkert, in my opinion. And then secondly, Levon Bayramyan, who is, of course, Horik Bayramyan's younger brother, who is in the Krasnodar Academy, is now and has played for Krasnodar 2, I believe, very regularly starter for Krasnodar 2, is now playing with Alashkert. So
what with really, us in Krasnodar?
Krasnodar is a lot of Armenian roots, a lot, as Ottoman would very happily tell you if we had time in this episode.
No, it's more of sitting outside and this kind of like not playing for the main squad is what bothers me.
Yes. Also, Armenian Premier League side Sevan have been making some reinforcements, including some of your best friends, Ottoman. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Sevan FC is building what I call a lake fortress. Why is that? Because, as you might know already, I'm all about defensive work. Well, Sevan already had as captain former Armenian national team and actually Sheriff Tiraspol from Moldavia center back Artyom Khachadurov. So they're gonna be calling in a few big defensive guns like Artur Danielian and Artur, so many Arturs in Armenia, Artur Kardashian. Those are two class defenders, Armenian of course, that will be joining also class Armenian defender Artem Khachadurov. This is gonna be a very exciting team for me that is gonna give Kaparos more options defensively. The APL is picking up its game. It's gonna be, in my opinion, as someone who hasn't considered the APL a good league, now it's becoming good. It's becoming exciting. Everyone should watch the APL. This is the year.
Well, speaking of the APL, thank you for that beautiful transition, Ahmed.
My pleasure.
We have some news. Gandzasar Kapan is back in the Armenian Premier League. They were originally declined or denied the opportunity to rejoin the Armenian Premier League after withdrawing mid-season due to the atrocities in Artsakh, as we can probably refer to them now. But the Armenian Premier League now has a total of 11 clubs that are going to be competing this season. And I will go through that list right now. So we have Ararat Yerevan, Ararat Armenia, Alashkert, Bekma, which we are really excited to have Bekma in the Premier League, Noah, Noravank, Punic, Sevan, Urartu, Van, and now, of course, Gandzasar Kapan. there is a very, very big name missing from that list, Shirak Gyumri, who has been relegated and will be playing in the second division. It is now confirmed.
By the way, for those who don't know, Shirak is one of the biggest, like one of the big three in Armenia.
Yeah, it was really surprising to see that happen. I thought, especially considering how Lori had withdrew from the league and what happened with Gandzasar, I didn't think that the federation would relegate Shirak, but they did anyway. So it's very confusing. But anyway, big, lots of teams in the Armenian Premier League. It's going to be awesome. A lot of games to watch, a lot of games to play. And hopefully we can get some more exciting football, better competition. And as we always say, all the games are available live to watch on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to the...
And actually, most of the teams are actually going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ararat Yerevan is going to be awesome to watch. Alashkert, it's an aging team, but Alexander Grigorian is a fantastic manager. Bekma, you're looking at pretty much the Armenia under 21 national team.
Yeah,
playing
Urartu, Armenia under 25.
Yeah, so you're looking at the U21 national team. It practically joined the Premier League, which is awesome. Noravank, who is going to be great. Sevan, who we just previously mentioned. Punic is in that rebuilding stage. Urartu with a great manager.
Van was surprising last season.
Van was very surprising with a good start last season. And hopefully a nice new look Gandzasar side.
Man, I hope Gandzasar, on one side, I hope Gandzasar brings back some of the good talent they used to have before they broke down during the war, because they had a lot of talent. Geram Harutyunyan, a very experienced striker that played in Kazakhstan and the Armenian national team under Kaparros even. They had Armen Hovhannisyan, our boy from Future Stars of Armenia, that played in Slovakia for 2 years. They had Uwe Marangulo, so hopefully they can repatriate some of that talent. And now, on the other hand, there's Van, that after Shirak's relegation, Van is basically the best side from outside of Yerevan.
Yeah, so definitely APL is going to be great to watch this season. Highly recommend it. Everyone should be watching it because the level of football has gotten so much better, and it's only getting better. So support the Armenian Premier League. Watch the matches. They're live streamed on YouTube at the FFA's YouTube channel. Each of these teams, or most of these teams, actually have their own YouTube channels where they post highlights, behind the scenes stuff. I know which team was really good at that. I think it was Punic. Punic has like really good behind the scenes videos. Watch all
Punic
that
and Noah.
Punic and Noah, they have great content that they churn out on a weekly basis. And to wrap up today's episode, congratulations to Italy for winning Euro 2020. They were very famously in Armenia's group in the qualifiers, and they shouldn't have beaten us at home. I was at that match. That was the match that Karapetyan got red carded erroneously. And I could tell you, just from being there and seeing the game in person, Armenia were on the front foot, and the red card really changed the game. And it could have easily been, went from 1-1. Armenia could have easily won that game.
Even Bonucci admitted it wasn't a red card.
Yeah. So and anyway, congratulations to Italy for winning.
Who didn't root for Italy aside from the English fans?
Exactly. I think everyone else wanted Italy to win. Charents.
I'm just waiting for September.
Oh, what's September?
Qualis.
Our qualifiers.
I know. I can't wait, man. Oh, what is it? July? We're in July. We're still in July. Come on.
Less than 2 months though.
Oh yeah, it's in the first week of September.
Yeah.
So yeah,
as soon as September hits, we start.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to look forward to during August too, because we got Manvelian and Spertian. See if they can make it to their first squads. Man, I hope they do.
Yeah,
I think they will this preseason. I was gonna say before that it's amazing that we're discussing players, our own players, and we're saying that this player is in this camp and this player is in this camp and such, because it's amazing, this thing, to be in a camp in Europe, going with your team, following that routine that they're doing is amazing.
Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned right now the possibility, I believe, currently training with the first team, Manuel Nazaretian at Marseille. So that's another young Armenian player, goalkeeper.
I'm so hyped for that guy.
Has already been called up he's already played Armenia under 20, I believe. So very much FFA already knows about him, and he seems he's a very high asset person. So that's another player. And Varujan Hovanesyan is back in Spain already, ready for preseason. So maybe, he could be getting some second team action. So a lot to be excited about when it comes to Armenia. Well, that wraps it up. Stay tuned to us, to our Instagram, to our Twitter, to our podcast episodes. We will be wrapping up transfer window as soon as it closes. If you haven't already, check out our interview with the FFA board member, Anna Tadevosyan. It was a fantastic interview to pick the brain of someone who is a key decision maker in Armenian football. Follow us on our social media, on Instagram and Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. It doesn't get posted on. Someone on Reddit had a thread, and they were talking about how Football Kentron should make a YouTube channel, and it's like, well, we all have careers. It's a lot of work.
Well, to the listeners, what we can say is just support us with what we're doing now. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll be able
support our beautiful voices.
Yeah, just support with whatever you can. Share, comment, try to make us reach to more Armenians as much as possible, especially until September.
Yeah.
When everything will be
blown back
covered.
Yeah. Support everything Armenian, baby.
Yeah. Ask us questions. Ask us questions. We love answering questions. And
so keep sharing.
Keep sharing. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't think you want to see our faces anyway. We're pretty ugly. Our voices are much better.
Stay with our voices.
Stay with voices. And yep, that's gonna be it for Football Kentron. On behalf of Armen. Oh my God, dude, I'm so.
We're adding new people.
Yeah, our new member, Autumn. We just keep on adding people. On behalf of Chonant and Armen and. Tito's not here.
Briasco.
Hopefully Bob can make it through.
On behalf of Chonant, Armen, and Briasco Balek. That's going to be all, guys. Goodbye. Thank you for listening.